Today, 90 to 95, the feel like temperature 103, partly to mostly sunny, slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Mostly clear overnight, that overnight temperature in the muggy mid-70s. Showers and thunderstorms will be isolated Tuesday and Wednesday, partly to mostly sunny in the low to mid-90s. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Recep Tayyip Erdogan's won a new 5-year term in office in Turkey, with the opposition candidate saying the country's heading into a dangerous period of one-man rule. At least 86 people have died after a suspected herdsman attack in Plateau State in Nigeria. Ethiopia says it'll seek foreign expertise to investigate the bomb blast at a rally for the country's Prime Minister on Saturday. And Prince William will become the first British royal to make an official visit to Israel and the Palestinian territories in 70 years later.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Monday. It's June 25th, 2018. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I am joined by Quabila Jones, host of Community Conversations. She is actually off camera for today. She didn't feel like being pinkalicious today. It is all good. We are joined by Mrs. Susan Inman. She is a Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. She is in town today, and she stopped by the studio to talk about her campaign. Let me go ahead and give the disclaimer. KLEK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse nor support any candidate for office, nor was any compensation provided for this interview. This interview is provided for educational purposes only. We will not tell you who to vote for, but we definitely encourage you to exercise your right to vote. And with that said, we want to welcome Mrs. Inman, excuse me, I don't know where I got that from. Mrs. Inman to the studio today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
All right, so go ahead and start off by just telling the listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, born and raised there. Don't hold that against me here in the Jonesboro, Craighead County area. But it's where my parents landed. I have had a lengthy career in election administration, working in the Pulaski County Election Commission and subsequently in the Secretary of State's office as the Director of Elections for the entire state of Arkansas. So I come with a wealth of election administrative knowledge. I've also been called on by the U.S. Department of State to observe elections in foreign countries, which we can chat about that if you like. It's a pretty interesting story. My education was from Little Rock Public Schools, went to the University of Central Arkansas, and back to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
All right, well, definitely a wealth of experience that you have. So what made you decide to run for Arkansas Secretary of State?
Well, as I said, my background is in election administration, and I've worked with county clerks across the state and election commissioners across the state, and there were a lot of activities with the current administration in the Secretary of State's office that I was not really happy with. Mark Martin, the outgoing secretary, was absent a lot. And not a lot was getting done to help counties better administer their elections. I actually ran for this seat in 2014, when it wouldn't have mattered who I was or what I was running for. It was a sort of a bad year for a lot of Democrats out there. But it means enough to me and to the people that I support to make this run again. It was an important opportunity. The seat is open this time, and I want to make a difference, and I want to protect everyone's right to vote.
Alrighty, and we got a couple Facebook shout-outs already. Shout out to Marsha Phillips, who gives a hand wave, and shout out to Bernard Cops. Appreciate each of you for checking in on our Facebook live feed. So So looking at your website, and the website is SusanInmanForArkansas.com. Again, that is SusanInmanForArkansas.com. And you have some position statements on your website. And the first one is voting-elections. And I'm just going to read the verbiage on your website. And it says, "Your right to vote is my top priority. Every eligible citizen should be able to exercise his or her right to vote without obstruction. When we make our voices heard by voting, our democracy is stronger and more inclusive. I will use every resource of the Office of Secretary of State to protect that right. How can we do it better?" And then you say, "Remove obstacles to voting. Don't add new ones. Cut red tape and unnecessary voter ID rules. Don't close polling locations. Open them. Educate people about the ballot, modernize the voter registration process, stop gerrymandering, ensure that every county has proper voting machines, and protect every voter's information." So let's go ahead and start with the voter ID law. As you know, that Arkansas has a new voter ID law, and traditionally in states that pass voter ID laws, these laws are passed in states that tend to have high minority populations, higher populations of elderly people, higher populations of people who may potentially have difficulty obtaining a voter ID, which may lock them out of the election process. So I just kind of want you to expand on your views on that.
Well, anything that we do to make voting more difficult turns people away. I mean, it absolutely reduces the turnout. The voter ID law, it is on the books right now. We have it in Arkansas. There's also a constitutional amendment on the ballot in November that will write that law into the Constitution, requiring a photo ID to cast a ballot. If that happens, it's sort of incumbent upon those of us trying to be helpful and encouraging voting, try to find a way to around it or make sure everybody has an ID. It's difficult to get for some people. You can't say there's not. You have to go someplace to get the free ID. You have to take documentations with you to get the free ID. I will do everything I can. If I can't fight it, I will find a way to make it workable for all the citizens. Reaching out to rural communities to make sure that the voters that are truly left out do have a voter ID of some form and are able to cast a ballot.
Okay. What about those that are disabled, homebound, things of that nature? Would there be some type of agencies or individual groups set in place to maybe go to the individual home? I know that kind of gets away from, policy, or maybe there's room for error, but what about those individuals? Well,
the Secretary of State's office is the perfect place to actually set up things like that.
Okay.
I mean, it has the means. The counties don't have the means to go out in the field, and reach people in homebound areas. They just don't have the resources. But if we can set up some kind of a program where we can set up hey, we're going to bring a photocopy to your neighborhood to help you get a copy of your ID, or just make efforts to make that happen. So it needs to be education. Voters need to be aware of what is necessary. Now, the voter ID law, there's a couple of exclusions for people that don't have to have an ID, by mail specifically. If you are in the military and you request a mail-in ballot, you're not required to submit an ID. So we're selecting a certain part of the demographics that doesn't have to have it. But also, if the voter is in a long-term care facility, they do not have to provide an ID either. The facility administrator will sign off on an attestment that they are clients or residents of the facility and mail back with their absentee ballot.
Okay. We're speaking with Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. Got another Facebook shout out. Ronnie Michelle Robinson says, Arkansas County Dems support Susan. Mrs. Inman, my next question is kind of relating to what we're talking about. You touted in the beginning of this interview your experience with elections, and proponents of voter ID laws state that these laws are necessary to prevent election fraud. And an example that they give is dead people voting for candidates. But from your experiences monitoring and working with elections, have you observed many cases of voter fraud?
No, and I've been doing this since 1994. I mean, I have administered just hundreds and hundreds of elections, and it just does not happen. I can remember one instance back in the late 90s when we had early voting, and an elderly person came and voted early, and then forgot that and tried to come back on election day to vote, but was stopped because the record showed that person had already voted in the election. So there are systems in place to prevent that.
So in that case, that was probably more of, I'm guessing this person may have just maybe was having Alzheimer's or dementia, or just forgot, but not trying to purposely vote twice.
And in-person voter fraud is a ridiculous accusation, because when you go to the polls, you're asked first to state your name and address, and then the workers find that information in the poll book, and then they confirm your date of birth. So you've given them 3 identifiers right there already without providing an ID. This ID is an extra step, an extra level that is, really not necessary, but it seems to be an issue for a lot of people.
And Mrs. Inman, on your website it mentions don't close polling locations, open them. I'm not sure if this happens in Arkansas, but I have seen states where they try to either cut down early voting, cut down the number of places, and sometimes these happen to be in places where there is a large concentration of certain demographics of people. So if you are elected Arkansas Secretary of State, can you expound on what you would do to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to vote, that people will have the time to vote and there are places open and available?
Well, it is happening in Arkansas. Polling places are being closed right here, probably in Craighead County too. But all across the state, the polling places are being closed for several reasons. It's expensive, number one. Number two, they're unable to get poll workers to serve. And number three, there's a movement toward vote centers, which has to reduce the number of polling sites, because they're opening, for instance, the county that may have had 30 polling places, they go to vote centers and then they suddenly have 5. Now, those vote centers are available to anyone in the county, but you still have to go there. And so it's sort of, the argument is, you can go anywhere you want to in the county, and it saves money, and all of those arguments that are out there. Well, that's what we don't need to do. We don't need to make it more difficult for voters to vote. We don't need to take away a familiar place. But if we do something like that, which is happening, we need to have more available mail-in balloting, so that those voters that are left out in the dirt road down in the far-reaching end of the community can still get a ballot and vote if they can't get out and go to the polling place.
And I will attest to the mail-in voting. I did that during the primaries, the early voting. And so it was very easy. You get several envelopes that you have to double seal, so that, if someone really wants to look at your information, they have to go through a lot of steps.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the mail-in balloting it's actually a concept that I came out with in a recent press release, to sort of mirror what is going on in California and Washington State and Oregon, Utah, Nebraska, and several other. Even Alaska has done some vote-by-mail elections. But if you take away the voting opportunities at polling places, you've got to get the ballots to the people. And the mail-in balloting will actually mail, if it's full mail-in, mail a ballot to every registered voter.
Yeah.
And then you would have to decide to vote it and either mail it back or drop it off in a vote center or voting location.
And I certainly think that could be doable. I attended a meeting at the local NAACP, and there were some officials from Craighead County Clerk's Office that were explaining about the new machines and how they can take the slips and thread them into the machine, and it scans them. So I think with this new technology, I certainly think that a mail-in ballot would be more feasible. Let's kind of transition into online balloting. Would that be something that you would champion if you are elected?
It's not time for online voting in America. We're not there yet. There's still too many people that don't have that technology available in their homes. And then you're also addressing the security of those issues. We saw hacking by the Russians of voter registration systems in other states, and I think until we really step into a really cyber-secure world in that regard, we don't need to go there yet. Right. It's been tried. I mean, I've worked with a group several years ago to set up they were trying to set up a pilot program for military online voting, and it was hacked, and so they pulled that plug. This is with the federal government.
Well, and of course the federal government would obviously be a target for hackers. All right, so I'm looking again on your website, and you bring up modernize the voter registration process. It says when you turn 18 or even 17 during an election year and you are an Arkansas citizen, you should automatically be registered to vote. People moving into the state and others that need to update their registration should be able to do so online. So expand on that a little bit.
Okay, well, I know I just talked about online and hackability and so forth, but I would like to move to an online voter registration system, protected in the cyber world, very, very much protected. But they do online voter registration in, I want to say, 38 or 39 states already. It's very effective. It encourages the millennials to vote, register to vote, participate. But for all citizens, it gives you the opportunity to update your registration information. If you move or change your name, all of the things that would affect your voting location, you can do it online. Right here in Arkansas, we have to fill out a piece of paper, you have to mail it in, and then wait for something to come back to confirm it. But as far as when 18 years old people are, turn 18, I think it should be automatic. And that can happen through, much like what we have now when you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles to update your driver's license. They'll ask you if you want to register to vote, but if we change it to automatic voter registration, you're registered. You'd have to opt out of it. And the same for other service agencies. If a client goes in, a state agency, they will be registered to vote, but they're not asked. So it would also encourage participation and registration.
Okay. I want to ask, with the modernizing, kind of moving away a little bit from the 18 to 17-year-old, but what about someone who signs up for, say, government assistance of any kind? You also get that form.
Exactly.
You want to register. So could you possibly incorporate an automatic registration with that process?
Yes, and that's what I was trying to say a minute ago. But yeah, it would automatically be registered, and then the voter would have to opt out.
Okay. All right.
And of course, people who are getting government benefits, that is kind of a hot button topic right now with the recent work requirements that have been instituted regarding people who get federal assistance.
They need to vote.
Yes.
Well, I always say, no matter what you support, who you support, what you're for, what you're against, elections have consequences. Because at the end of the day, somebody's going to get elected. So it might as well be the person that you want.
Exactly.
Because if you don't vote well, somebody's going to end up making that decision for you.
That's right. Before we go to break, I want to go back up one issue on your website. It says educate people about the ballot. Can you expound on that?
Yes, voters are not informed in Arkansas or anywhere in the South really about when is the election, where to go vote, how to vote, what's on the ballot, what information you need to take with you. You're not informed, and if you're not informed, you're either going to not go or forget the date and not participate. the primary election that we just had in Arkansas, I think the turnout, I don't know what it was in Craighead County, but in, where were we the other day? In wherever Mena is, Polk County. The turnout in the primary was like 4%.
Wow.
So 14%, excuse me, which that's terrible. That's terrible. And even in Pulaski County, I think the turnout was very, very, very low.
So do you think people need to be educated more on what role the primary elections play in when it comes to the general election in November?
Absolutely.
And how important it is to hopefully get your candidate in the running for the general election?
Yes, the primary, as we know, are nominations to get onto the general election ballot by the parties, but the primaries are also where we elect our judges.
Okay.
I mean, we actually elect judges on the day of the primary.
Okay.
It's the primary and nonpartisan judicial general election simultaneously.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that. So there's a lack of information. As Secretary of State, there's already a built-in component in that office right now that will allow me, as your Secretary of State, to better educate the citizens of Arkansas about voting, the process, and how, where, when, and who.
Okay.
We've got a Facebook shout out to Judy Castillo.
All right. One quick question right before break. Going back to the automatic voter registration. What about high school seniors? Say they turn 17, 18, they're going into their senior year. Some may be 17 their junior year. However, when it's getting time for graduation, could that be incorporated somehow?
Yes, and actually a 17-year-old can register to vote if they're going to be 18 before the next election.
Okay.
And we are encouraging that to happen in high schools right now.
Okay.
Alrighty. We're speaking with Mrs. Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. We're getting ready to go to a break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the issues. This is Community Conversations on KLEK on 2.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
What's the kryptonite in your marriage? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Superman's virtually indestructible, but he can be brought to his knees by a tiny piece of rock. Kryptonite drains him of his powers and makes him vulnerable. Prolonged exposure will even kill him. Well, what about us mere mortals? In marriage, we can often see the big things coming. The small things, criticism, indifference, keeping score. These little radioactive stones can creep up on us and slowly zap our marital resolve. Left unchecked, they have the potential to slay the strongest marriage. So take a page from Superman's book. Be vigilant. Be aware of these possible dangers and learn how to hold on to what's good. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Meineke of Jonesboro is now Starks Auto Service, a full-service auto repair and vehicle maintenance center offering engine and transmission repair, brake service, tires, oil changes, and more, performed by ASE certified mechanics. Starks Auto Service, 2813 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, 870-204-7112. Starks Auto Service, Jonesboro.com.
Hey ladies, it's Nettie Jones, the girlfriend's therapist. I'm here with my girls, Elise Lyles and Brianna Hill.
The Fab Squad.
Tune in this week for our featured bad woman of color. She's bold,
audacious, and determined.
She's a bad,
shut your mouth,
woman of color. So tune in this week from
10 to 11
right here on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You don't want to miss it. Tell a friend.
Hello, I'm Officer Victoria Evans. I have always had a desire to help others in need and to be an example and role model to young women by encouraging them to never give up on their dreams. My dream was to become a police officer and to serve my community. In 2016, that dream became a reality, and it is the most rewarding experience of my life. Now I want to let you know about the same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing every month for patrol officers. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com or at the Police Department, 1001 South Caraway Road. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information is available at 870-935-5657.
The Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was established on June 28, 1997 by 13 dynamic women who accepted the challenge and honor of chartering the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter. Today, the chapter continues to impact the Jonesboro community by sponsoring programs such as the Sonia D. Williams Scholarship Breakfast, Back to School Bash, Disaster Preparedness, Delta Academy, Empower African Girls, and Autism Awareness. Our focus correlates with the national theme, uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. Our chapter supports Delta's 5-point programmatic thrusts: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. More information about the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is available at www.jonesboroalumnidst.org or via email jonesboroalumni@live.com.
The Epic Center, located at 1899 Hasbrook Road, County Road 333, is Jonesboro's newest venue for entertainment for the entire family. They offer an auditorium with theater-style seating for up to 1,100 guests, a large stage, professional lighting and sound, dressing rooms, concessions, and more. Available for weddings, concerts, pageants, birthday parties, showers, and more. Booking and other information is available at Epic Center Jonesboro on Facebook, epiccenterjonesboro.com, and at 870-530-5841.
House of Details, located at 3217 Herb Street, Suite C, is a proud supporter of KLEK, offering detailing on any type of vehicle: waxing, clear coat protection, basic wash, hand wash, shampoo, interior cleaning, buffering, headlight restoration, pickup, delivery, and more. With a motto of, anything mean, we can clean. Details available via Quentin Bogard at 870-273-5187. House of Details on Facebook and houseofdetailsjonesboro.com.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Mrs. Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. We got some Facebook shout-outs. Timothy Yates gives a wave. S.L. Robinson says, Susan has always been passionate about making sure people know their voting rights. Thanks for addressing this, Susan. And we're going to talk about some other things that Mrs. Inman is passionate about. And looking on her website, there's a tab called Business, and under Business it says Expediting Business and Commerce. She says, starting a business in Arkansas requires official forms and paperwork that all businesses and organizations have to file with the Secretary of State's office. Once again, the job of that office is to remove obstacles, not add new ones. In order to help our economy grow, the Secretary of State's office should support businesses and help business owners file the required paperwork. We can do this by streamlining the online filing process and restoring great customer service. And before I bring in Mrs. Inman, I have to say that I have experience with this because when we started the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, before we even filed for the FCC license, we had to incorporate and fill out the paperwork. And each year we get sent an annual report that we have to fill out. In fact, I got the card just recently, and so I have to turn that in each year so that the VA MAC can remain in good standing. But Mrs. Inman, I want to go ahead and bring you back in and expound on your thoughts on this issue.
Yes, those filings occur every year for nonprofits, and then the corporations for profits have to do their franchise tax payments. That's all done through the Secretary of State's office. So anybody doing business in the state of Arkansas has a filing there. You can do these things online. Typically, not a problem for most people. There have been some issues, which I have heard about in traveling the state, and filing some, requesting a name for a corporation someone's trying to file. And the name will be accepted, and then within 3 weeks it will be rejected.
Oh, I went through that because
okay.
I'll tell you the story. The name of the corporation was originally supposed to be the Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. That got rejected, and so I actually had to call someone, and they said, well, just change the name up a little bit and see if it goes through. So I added the voice of. So now the nonprofit has this big, long name because of a glitch in the system.
Exactly, and that you shouldn't have gotten past the filing before you found out that wouldn't be acceptable. So there's a lot that can be done to streamline, make it more user-friendly, and the website definitely needs a redo, absolutely, and I will do that. Just more information for the citizens to make it easier to register their businesses.
Hi, Kobila, did you have anything you want to contribute or ask on this topic?
Not necessarily in the business. I don't own a business, so that one's
But you are a big part of this nonprofit.
Yes. Let me think about that. I'll come back.
Okay.
Because I have my mind on something else.
Well, while you think about this, I have something. Okay. Obviously, there is concerns about the business climate, particularly in Arkansas, with things like taxes and even with threats of tariffs us putting tariffs on people putting tariffs on us, especially like with the farmers and other businesses in Arkansas. So what role would the Secretary of State have in encouraging commerce and encouraging healthy commerce in the state?
I'm not so sure that that's something the Secretary of State can do because it's a filing record-keeping entity. There may be some legislation that would affect, franchise taxes or something like that. But as far as encouraging, I think that would be making information more available about opening a business or starting a business and all the parts and packages and procedures that are needed to do that. More information could definitely go out to the citizens.
And maybe possibly, especially for minorities, women,
yes, exactly.
other underrepresented groups, to provide information so that they can have the resources and the information that they need in order to start businesses or start nonprofits.
Yeah, there are a lot of hurdles to climb over to start your own business.
I want to, if you don't mind, move into the education tab.
Okay, I already had it pulled up.
And just go into your thoughts on the items that are listed. You mentioned about basically educating the state of, since we're in Arkansas, educating the residents of the state of Arkansas just about the civic process, the voting process, and everything in between, and then also helping teachers in the classroom reach their students better. So just discuss, let's start with the first one, supplementing the civic education curriculum.
That would be a dream come true. There are some components with the Secretary of State's office now that have been there for many, many years. They do provide some coloring books and some items for teachers to download and or even be mailed about how a bill becomes a bill and that process, but it doesn't really talk about the voting process.
Okay.
It talks about more, historically how we get bills in place. So I would like to work on that and just talk about, hey, let's go vote. How do I vote? What do I need to do? And make it available for schools to fit whatever level of education is needed.
You might have to go old school, schoolhouse rock on it.
Yeah, well, we could do schoolhouse vote.
There you go. We're speaking with Mrs. Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. We got some more Facebook shout outs. Robin Tummy says, Susan wrote the book Guidelines of the Policies and Procedures which every county election commission in Arkansas follows. Just a fact. Blake Ross says, go Susan. And Jackson Davis says, way to go, Susan.
Yay, thank you.
All right, so hopefully, if you are elected, you can help start making some of these changes to educate the residents of Arkansas, and we will see an increase, one, in voting numbers, registered voters, and voter education. So
those are the three big things that I want to do, absolutely.
All right. So I want to go back to, did you have something?
Oh no, I'm just checking the live feed.
Something that is important that we don't like to talk about, but it's been happening since the beginning of time, the beginning of the development of the United States, which is gerrymandering. Many people don't want to talk about it because it makes some people uncomfortable, but unfortunately we have to talk about it because it's happening and it's becoming an unfair process for certain individuals. So first explain what gerrymandering is.
Well, it's called redistricting by another name. The Board of Apportionment is under our Arkansas Constitution, consists of 3 elected officials. It's the governor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state. Okay. Those 3 elected officials will redraw all legislative boundaries following a census. Okay. So following the 2020 census, beginning in 2021, those 3 people will be redrawing all of the legislative districts in the state to have them in place for the 2022 election cycle.
So basically, you look at a map and you literally draw out.
Yeah. Well, there's technology that will help with that aspect, but traditionally, the lines are drawn to keep the incumbent, whomever that might be, within those lines, which is why you see a lot of funny funny shapes. The districts have to be contiguous. They can't be separated. I mean, they're all in one geographic boundary. Okay. But the gerrymandering can be so manipulated politically. It can look at a district and separate communities or isolate a portion of a community with nothing like the voters that may be in a larger portion of the district. So it completely removes the voice of voters, typically minorities, in a small portion of a boundary zone, if you will. So attention needs to be made to either equalize or make the boundaries contain like people or very diverse people, but keep it an equal balance so that I'll have a say and you'll have a say and he'll have a say in voting and electing someone.
There have been states in which there have been lawsuits filed because people thought that the way these districts were drawn was not fair. I mean, they would cite like examples of like, you go down one block of a street, it's this district, the next block it's another district, and the third block it's another district, and you can cross 2 or 3 districts just going down one city block. Yeah,
and there's some pretty strange districts boundaries in the state of Arkansas, and it can be used, if done improperly, to really shut down a part of the community as far as voting and electing representatives. All right. So we need to have me on that board, or at least have one Democrat, 2 preferably.
I just want to remind everyone where they can find this information. They can go to your website, which is susaninmanforarkansas.com, and when you get to the website, you click on
issues.
On the little search menu. Well, I'm looking on it from a mobile device, so it looks different from the web device. If you're on a mobile device, click the 3 lines at the top right of the screen. That gives you a pull down menu, and click on issues, and that will take you to this information. I strongly urge everyone to please go look up Ms. Inman and every other candidate running for any office and learn their issues that they stand for so that you can make an informed decision when you go to the polls in November. We want everyone to get out and vote and not just blindly vote.
Yes, you need to be informed. Voters should be informed.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
And that's what we try to do here at KLEK by inviting all candidates to come on and to talk about what they stand for and the issues so that voters can be informed when they step into the voting booth. Getting back to Mrs. Inman's website, under news, it has Inman announces support for universal vote by mail. So, Mrs. Inman, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, this is a tried and true, proven method of voting in the United States. They're doing it in several states that I mentioned earlier. This gives every voter the ballot. A ballot is mailed to you. You can sit around your dining room table, talk about it to your family, read and study the issues, learn about the candidates in the comfort of your own home or wherever you want to be. And then you would have to mail it back and or deliver it in person at a voting location. This is kind of the movement of America right now, because paper balloting is a big issue, keeping with paper ballot and a backup.
Now, I know we talked a little bit about voting online. What about voting by phone? Has that even been considered or tried?
You know, you're taking me back several years. But when early on in my career with the Election Commission, there was I had a voter who was blind, came to my office to visit about these very concerns about voters with disabilities being able to participate. And at that time, there was a program in Canada that had just set up that kind of a concept where you just call in and, punch the button and were able to vote. It didn't take off here, and I don't even know if that company is still in business. So we're not there yet, but it certainly is a thought to look toward.
Okay. Now, speaking of Canada, looking at your professional history, and you mentioned earlier how you were called upon to monitor elections in other countries. So walk us through the process of what it's like America versus on the listing you have Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Mm-hmm. So tell us what pros, cons, the likes and differences.
Actually, there's some pictures on my website of international monitoring. It's on the Meet Susan tab. Okay. Is that where it is?
I'm gonna click on that. We got a interesting Facebook shout out. Don't know what this means, but Debbie Reynolds says, and that's what happens when you put X-Lax and T. All that I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah, there's some pictures of the international trips, some of them that I've made. It's through the U.S. Department of State, and I have been all over Eastern Europe, which consists of all of the former Yugoslavia, and Central Asia, which consists of all the Soviet satellite countries and even Russia itself. I have observed in all of those locations. It's with the U.S. Department of State through another organization that selects the observers. It's an incredible opportunity because, I'm able to participate in election in foreign land for sure. The process they go about is very similar to how we vote in the United States. As far as the voters come in and, are asked their name and address, they'll provide their credentials. It'll be logged on the book. They'll sign it just like we do here, given a ballot, and then vote. The purpose of the observation trips is to ensure the integrity of the election in these countries. I'll be teamed up with another international person. Won't be an American, it'll be somebody else. I've been teamed with people from Poland and Germany and Norway and other places. I can't remember all the countries because I've done so many of these. You're given an interpreter that speaks the local language and a local driver to take you to the polling places. But you're given a listing of polling places in a specific region, and you spend the election day visiting each polling station assessing what you observe, and then move on to the next. But you start the day watching the election officials open, which is, setting up the ballots, getting all the materials, making sure everything's in place, and then you end the day in a polling location and observe the counting, which is all hand counted, by the way. It takes forever, it's a long process. And then you observe how they log the results, the verification of the numbers, and package everything, and then we'll follow that polling place to a central location, kind of like you have an election commission office here, and then they'll do the compilation of all of the results at the end of usually in the next morning. But it's an incredible opportunity to see the respect given to the election officials. I mean, these people are extremely respected, and nobody hollers at the poll workers like they do here. and the voters themselves are just so pleased and honored to participate. And they do. I mean, they vote in large numbers.
And let's kind of touch on that as we got about 2.5 minutes in this segment. One of the things is, compared to other countries, voter turnout in the United States is typically down. In some cases, even less than 50%, depending on the election, may vote. One, why do you think voter turnout in the United States is so low? And two, if you are elected Arkansas Secretary of State, what can you use your office for in order to increase voter participation?
I think here, this has kind of been a strange year that we've lived, but there's a lot of voter apathy. I don't think enough information is given to voters, obviously, that they can trust these days. But I will do everything in my hands, everything possible, to make sure voters get good information, valuable information, helpful, nonpartisan information, so that it will encourage them to cast their vote.
And while you've been out on the campaign trail, what kind of feedback have you gotten from people that you've spoken to throughout the state?
They don't know what the Secretary of State does. That's my big hurdle, understanding what that office is even responsible to do. That's the first educational component that I will put out there. It is all about voting, and it's all about your vote, which is what I will certainly encourage.
And we definitely wish you the best as you go on the campaign trail. Quabila, do you have anything for Mrs. Inman?
Well, I would just like to see, whoever's in the office, more outreach, as we talked about earlier, to those in those rural areas or that are disabled or have whatever other disability that may not be a physical disability. Everyone should have the right, if they're willing and have the desire to vote. So I would just like to see more outreach. Either it's by way of a traveling.
Yeah, well, I would say that Arkansas has 75 counties. Set up something to where at least each county gets visited at least once a year.
Absolutely, I'm totally about that. My long-term dream has been the vote mobile, to take around the state and educate and make sure people are aware.
And there are also many portable photography options. Print a little picture on site, attach it to a plastic card. I mean, whatever. I know that's just my outside looking in opinion.
And I appreciate those, and I'll certainly be open to all sorts of ideas and listen to the people.
All right, we're going to go ahead and leave it there. We are speaking with Mrs. Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more. This is Kate, LEK, 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. If you have a budget but can't seem to stick to it, you could be buying into lies that cause you to overspend. Here are a couple of them and the reality checks you need to remember to keep spending under control. Shop here and save. Here's the lie, that it's possible to spend your way to savings as long as you shop at the right places. The truth is, While you can shop for lower prices, you can only save if you bank the difference between what you budgeted for an expense and what you actually spend. Otherwise, you can't spend your way to savings no matter where you shop. How about this one? Limited time only. This gives you the impression that the great deal you're being offered will never happen again, which is almost never true. Wait until you truly can afford to buy, and you'll still find great deals, maybe even better than the one you passed up today. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. at AURN.com.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
Teresa Beck, owner of Full Sun Gifts, 606 Southwest Drive in Jonesboro, is a proud supporter of KLEK. Full Sun Gifts offers a variety of gift ideas such as candles, fragrances, bath and body products, makeup, cosmetics, skincare, and more for birthdays, weddings, holidays, and all occasions. Details at Full Sun Gifts on Facebook and Instagram and 870-974-8480.
Post Consumer Brands is now hiring full-time operators at their Jonesboro facility. Selected individuals will receive health, dental, and vision plans, 3 weeks of paid vacation, frontline incentive while working on an average 16 days a month. Qualifications for the operator position are mechanically inclined, good work and attendance history, and a team player.
More information, jobs.postconsumerbrands.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977. Originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Millionaire mogul MC Light is coming to Jonesboro. Karis Grants and Services, through the Over a Cup initiative, hosts MC Light and other financial and health experts for an intimate lunch conversation Saturday, June 30th at 11 a.m. at the Arkansas State University Centennial Hall. The theme is How a Legend Builds. Registration and other information is available at www.thewealthportal.net and klekfm.org.
The McDaniel Law Firm, 400 South Main Street in Jonesboro, is a firm believer in justice and equality for the minority community. The McDaniel Law Firm has fought for our rights for over 44 years. The McDaniel Law Firm offers legal help for wrongful death as well as trucking and automobile accidents. Bobby and Brett McDaniel are available for a free consultation at 870-336-4747 or at www.mcdaniellawyers.com.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Mrs. Susan Inman, Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State.
All right, so during this last segment, I know we talked about And we've talked quite a bit about a variety of issues that are coming up. What are some issues that
you feel passionately about that we did not cover?
You pretty much covered everything I'm pretty passionate about, and you know, it's all about our vote, which is why I'm running for this seat. I want to protect that right, encourage that right, and I say this all the time. I'll never get out of the business of protecting your right to vote. Okay. This is what it means. If you are a citizen and an eligible voter in Arkansas or in the United States of America, you should be able to exercise that right.
And let's bring this up. What about the rights of felons to vote? You know, there's been a lot of discussion about that.
Okay. Yes, a felon can re-register to vote once they've done their time, paid their fine, and are released. They can go right back and register to vote and participate. And a lot of felons don't know that, unfortunately, that they have that option. But it is there. I would actually like to see that made easier when the time is completed and the felon is finished. It should be able to be almost an automatic re-registration in my mind.
That's what I was going to ask you, since you would like to push for automatic for 17, 18-year-olds and for other individuals. Same thing with felons. Once they are released and they've met their last requirement, you know, could it be automatic?
It should be automatic, because there are definitely hurdles that the one has to go through to get the paperwork and the documents and take them to the clerk and re-register, and there's a stigma that's associated with that too. It should be an automatic, prideful thing that you've done this, you've gotten past this, and what better way to get back into society and become a part of it than by returning to the right to vote.
And what about people who have misdemeanors who are sitting in jails?
If they're registered, if they've not been, misdemeanors don't matter anyway. It's the felony conviction that.
Well, I know we've had some discussion on previous shows. You know, there's been, some confusion on whether people who are in county jails with misdemeanors, if they can actually request a ballot to vote.
I don't know why they couldn't if they have not been convicted.
Okay. All right, so there needs to be some reform all the way around the board, all across the board, on how people are allowed to vote, or if they're allowed, and how to get the process going.
Educate. We need to educate the voters. And that's what I want to do.
All
right. We have 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So, Mrs. Inman, in these last 2 minutes, just tell the listeners why you feel you are the best candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State and why people should vote for you.
Well, I am the most qualified person running for this seat. My opponents have never once had any part of administering an election anywhere, and I've done this for 25 years. I think it's high time we uphold the office, the people that we put in office to have the credentials needed to run that office. This is truly it should be a nonpartisan position, without a doubt, because it's not. It can be made political, but it should not. It should serve all the people all the time. That's what I will do, and that's what I pledge to do, and that's what I've done in my whole career.
All right. We encourage everyone to go to your website. So can you please give out your website again?
Yes, it's www.susaninmanforarkansas.com. That's all spelled out.
All right.
SusanInmanforArkansas.com. And are you going to be doing any other activities while you are in town today, in case people want to come out and meet you personally?
Yes, I'm going to be speaking to the Craighead County Democratic Committee tonight at 5:30.
And now where's that meeting going to be at?
It's going to be at Legends Barbecue,
1025 West Johnson Avenue.
Correct.
Legends Barbecue Smokehouse. They're supporters of KLEK.
And we're going to do a canvass actually in Jonesboro this afternoon at around 3 p.m. Got some young Democrats and some other volunteers coming to join us.
Okay.
And in the morning, we're going to have coffee at 9:30 at the Edge Cafe.
All right, well, there you have it. Those are your opportunities to meet Mrs. Inman. I want to thank you for stopping by the studio. And remember, We're not going to tell you who to vote for. KLK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council does not endorse nor support any candidate for office, nor was any compensation provided for this interview. This interview was provided for educational purposes only. I sound like one of those fast-talking people at the end of the commercials, but I only got 5 seconds left. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK LP, Jonesboro, the Voice of Arkansas.